I cannot stop thinking about Instagram face and filter face and how our repeated exposure to these things is morphing our beauty standards and ideals in real time. And how this overexposure to filters is robbing our ability to appreciate unique and individual features. So today I want to challenge these very rigid beauty ideals while celebrating individual beauty and unique features. Okay, Instagram face, filter face, these concepts or these ideas were coined in the last few years to represent this one very homogeneous look that we all seem to be chasing. The New Yorker describes it as a young face with poreless skin and plump high cheekbones. It has cat-like eyes and long cartoonish lashes. It has a small neat nose and full lush lips. And I was actually listening to a fascinating podcast. I will leave the episode linked below. It was from the Apple News and Conversation podcast, and this interview was from months ago. But they interviewed dermatologist Neelam Vashi, and she talked about some differences she's been seeing in her practice in the last few years, as well as an overall change in the beauty landscape in general in terms of what people are viewing as beautiful and aspirational. And in the episode, she talked about how our perception of what is beautiful is very dependent on what we're seeing every single day, what we're seeing around us, specifically through the idea of averageness. What we deem to be beautiful is determined based on how closely it does or does not fit the majority of faces within a population. So let's say you're looking at 1,000 faces, combining them together, what features are prominent? We're looking for average features, and someone's attractiveness is going to be determined based on how closely they fit that standard of averageness. So as you can imagine, when the average face that we're seeing when we log on to social media isn't real, that has some pretty significant consequences. She's saying this is how we kind of make a prototype. And decades ago, before social media and before this Instagram face phenomenon that we're discussing today, people would kind of discover this prototype through magazines, through television, through people that they're seeing in that manner. But today, the faces that we're seeing are on social media, where people might have a filter on their face. We're seeing celebrities that might have had extensive work done. And again, considering this idea of averageness from that pool of faces, we have now created a new, entirely unrealistic prototype to aspire to. And I know we know on some level that this has obviously impacted the way that we view ourselves and our desire to seek out beauty and what we consider beautiful. But hearing her explain it like that was really fascinating to me because it goes back on the idea of unrealistic beauty. You know, that's a phrase we hear repeated constantly. The phrase unrealistic beauty is no longer hyperbolic. The beauty ideals that we're aiming for literally do not exist. They are filters that are not representative of what that person's face looks like. And or they are cosmetic procedures that again are not representative of what that person's natural face looks like. And we're seeing this new evolved idea that we have of beauty and beauty standards reflected in cosmetic procedures. They said on the podcast, according to the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, butt lifts increased 256% between the year 2000 and 2018. Another example are lips. For centuries, Western culture has believed that lips looked most beautiful in a 1 to 1.6 ratio. This means the bottom lip is bigger than the top lip, 1 to 6 times bigger. And it goes all the way back to Renaissance paintings and ancient Greek sculptures. But in just about 5 years, Dr. Vashi says the golden ratio has changed. She says, I noticed that people were actually coming into my clinic wanting much more of the same, like a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, I don't share this tidbit to open a conversation about lip shape because they truly are all beautiful in my opinion. I actually share this to illustrate how we are watching these beauty standards evolve in real time as a reaction to Instagram face and filter face. Because we are so exposed to this stimuli that it is affecting what we view as beautiful and it's morphing it in our heads. She also referenced a study done with children where they asked them to rank attractiveness, and then they went in and showed these children a bunch of picture books where the faces were a little bit distorted. Maybe they were elongated, maybe they were stretched out a bit, but there was some level of distortion happening. And once the children were exposed to this stimuli, Afterwards, when they were asked again to rank attractiveness, they found that what the children found as beautiful had shifted in favor of those distorted images. So our perception of what is beautiful is actually more fluid than you might like to think. Repeated exposure to things changes the way we view them in our head. And that's exactly what I want to do today. I want to talk about specific facial features that we are told should be corrected or are viewed as less desirable. And I want to celebrate some really beautiful people that have those facial features. And there were really three things that inspired this video, but one of the biggest ones was watching the newest season of White Lotus. I don't know if you're watching it. I won't give any spoilers, mostly because I'm not caught up yet. So don't give me any spoilers. But even if you're not watching this season, you've probably heard the buzz around Aimee Lou Wood's teeth. This has been like headline news because she has her natural teeth. They have some gaps, they're not perfectly straight. And the feedback is very celebratory of Aimee having her natural teeth. The New York Times writes, Miss Wood's smile is broad, beautiful, and something of novelty these days, both among her castmates and in a broader sea of actors with straight, evenly spaced teeth having been apparently willed into submission by orthodontics or cosmetic modification. Which is fascinating in itself because she is simply existing in the teeth that she was born with. But we're so used to seeing celebrities with veneers and cosmetic dental work done that her simply existing is viewed as this rebellious statement. Let's just sit with that for a minute. Her not conforming is viewed as being rebellious. Her just existing is like this political statement through her teeth. But back to the show, every time she comes on camera, I am mesmerized. She is striking, she is such a beauty, and truly one of her best features is her smile. It's warm, it's inviting, it makes you want to be around her. And every time she comes on camera, I'm like mourning all of the beautiful, unique smiles that we have lost in Hollywood to the veneer epidemic, because seeing her is a reminder of how rare it is to see real teeth on camera these days. Seeing teeth that might be a little bit crooked, might have natural gaps, might not be perfectly pearly white. But I share her as an example to say her teeth and the fact that she hasn't changed them are one of the things that make her so beautiful and so striking to look at. Like, I love when she smiles. I love even the way her face sits at rest when her teeth kind of poke out. It is just so beautiful and so her. And if she were to go and get veneers like most celebrities, she would lose out on so much of that unique character that her teeth give her. Okay, but remember when I said this video was inspired by three things? That was number one. But two were videos from creators that I love that they have posted recently in this same vein. So I'm gonna leave them linked down below. But first is a series Hannah Louise Poston has been doing about deprogramming. She's done a video about deprogramming newness in clothing, about deprogramming aging in makeup, but also a video recently posted by Alexandra Anele where she was talking about hooded eyes and the beauty in hooded eyes. And what I loved from the videos from both of these women was that their content really serves to deprogram a lot of these ideas that were taught. And today we're going to deprogram some of these ideas of this very homogenous beauty standard that we have been taught. We are no longer going to be hating these individual features that we have because they are what make us unique and beautiful. So we've already kind of kicked it off with teeth. I think this is such a fun one. Teeth add so much character to someone's face, like having that natural smile. Maybe it's not perfectly straight. Maybe your teeth are big. Maybe they're small. Maybe they're crooked. Maybe they're anything. That's part of what makes a smile unique and gives it character. One that comes to mind is Alexa Demi. Her teeth have a little gap in the front. Her front tooth is a little bit crooked. And she did a campaign with MAC last year and her smile was kind of, I'm not gonna say the center of the campaign, but it was a big element of it, like seeing her teeth stick out. And I thought it just gave so much character to the ad and to her. Her smile is so her. It's beautiful because it is unique. Another one I'm excited to talk about is a large forehead. And I mean, I have one thing to say here. Rihanna, one of the most beautiful women in the world, has a very large forehead. And what I love about Rihanna in particular with the conversation of forehead size is that she plays around with so many different hairstyles. So often when women have large foreheads, they're told you should get bangs to cover your forehead or to balance out your forehead. And certainly you could do that, but this is again the idea that I kind of want to get away from. You don't need to get bangs to cover your forehead. You can play around and accentuate your forehead with different hairstyles or celebrate the fact that your forehead is a little bit larger. Okay, I've been thinking about this a lot with bangs because lately I have been so in love with baby bangs. I wasn't on board for years, but I've finally come around to them and I have been loving this look. And I'm gonna kind of lump together a lot of these. I know they're technically different names like baby bangs, micro bangs, like there are a lot of different variants here, but I'm talking about the idea of bangs that hit above the eyebrow. And the thing about that hairstyle, if you have a short forehead or even more of an average size forehead, you know, it can be possible, but it's gonna be tough because the bangs are going to be very, very short. But if you have that larger forehead, you have more room to play around with that hairstyle and you can do that shorter bang that sits above the brow. And it's such a fun way to play up your forehead shape. And like that's something people with different shaped foreheads, that's a hairstyle they might not be able to play around with. And that's part of the beauty and the uniqueness of having that different face shape. And I know we're often told you shouldn't do this, but I love seeing someone with a larger forehead wearing a very slicked back look that exposes the forehead. Like you don't need to cover it up just because it's like a few millimeters bigger than most other people's foreheads. Like there's still so much beauty in all these different facial features. Okay, next is one that I talk about a lot, and that is downturned eyes. But I also want to loop in like droopy eyes, sleepy eyes, all of the above, because I think there's so much beauty in this kind of sleepier eye shape that oftentimes exaggerates down. And I know what has been very trendy currently for the last few years is a very uplifted eye. You know, we're seeing people get threads in their face. We're seeing people get facelifts done and exaggerate this. And it is such a beautiful look for someone that naturally has that very upturned eye. I drool over it. I think it is stunning. But I also think it's stunning when people have this naturally more rounded, downturned eye. My favorite example here, Sydney Sweeney, has a very downturned, sleepy eye. And because of her eye shape, she's able to play around with a lot of really fun makeup looks. I love that she just has so much room from her like mobile lid up to her brow. And so you can see her playing around with different eyeliner placement, wearing some thicker eyeliner that really suits her eye. Sometimes a cat eye up, sometimes a little bit more downturned. Like I've seen her do so many fun makeup looks that almost emphasize how like pouty, sleepy her eyes look. I think it's so pretty. And with downturned eyes, and honestly like everything on this list, 9 times out of 10, if you are to type that in, you were to go type that into Google or to YouTube, makeup for downturned eyes, everything it would suggest to you would be about how to lift the eye and make it look more upturned. And certainly you could do that. That's part of the fun in makeup. You can really experiment with things. But I challenge you to play around with the downturned part of the eye. Like that can be so beautiful in itself, doing a very 60s inspired like twiggy makeup look where things are a bit heavier on the under eye and on the outer corner. Like you can do it all. You can do the upturned eyeliner, play around with that, but also do that very exaggerated, sleepy, downturned look. It's so beautiful.
Enhancing my downturned eyes for once. Instead of working that out, I'm gonna work that downward to enhance that shape, focusing that on the end, taking a dark liner and putting that on this outer third, again to weigh down this part of the eye. But instead of trying to correct it, just kind of like going for it and enhancing it.
Eyeliner to work with your downturned, hooded eyes and not against them is I follow the angle of my upper lash line and I go straight out at the end at a slight downward angle. And if I get this wrong, I just run my nail along it and it sharpens the line back up. And that is how different that initial angle is for downturned eyes. This is how I like my eyeliner.
Okay, speaking of, if you type this into Google, it will tell you how to fix it versus how to embrace it. The biggest example of this, I feel so strongly that dark circles are so beautiful. I know it is programmed into our brains that it is a problem to be fixed. And again, certainly you can play around with makeup and camouflage your dark circles and wear different looks. However, dark circles can also be so beautiful. There was even a trend a couple years back on TikTok where people were exaggerating their dark circles or drawing them on, or even outside of dark circles on the under eyes, even having the darkness and the pigment on the eyelid as well. I think that's so pretty. It's like you have built-in eyeshadow. I think about this so often when I'm scrolling Sephora, specifically looking at concealers. So often I will look at the before and after side-by-side photos and I'm like, oh, I just loved the before. Like I kind of prefer that darkness on the under eye. Something about it, it's like eyeshadow kind of. It makes the eye pop. It gives this cute look. I don't think you have to be embarrassed about dark circles and I don't think you have to cover them up. Again, you certainly can, but there's also beauty in having that natural pigment under your eyes.
I heard that we're all learning to embrace our natural features now, and for me, that means not covering up my dark circles. I'm gonna play on my more cool tone skin with a berry blush in a dewy finish so it looks super natural. Also some inner corner highlight to bring light to my eyes in a different way. I think it's definitely looking super winter inspired, so let me know if you're gonna try this.
Today I really wanted to embrace my dark circles, so I'm starting with a natural foundation. I like the way that my eyes kind of naturally look like I have eyeshadow on when I don't, and it's kind of a quicker way to achieve a sultry look. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's cute.
I want to talk now about small lips, maybe uneven lips, thin lips, flat lips, all of the above. You know, the very full lip filler injected lips are kind of a hallmark of this filler face or Instagram face phenomenon. And it can be such a beautiful look. Don't get me wrong, I am envious of everyone who's blessed with large, full lips. Also, at the same time, I still see so much beauty in other lip shapes. There are so many celebrities, models that have a naturally smaller lip shape, and it just flatters their face so well. And what I will say truly about any of these facial features, what you were born with is probably what matches best with your face. And like, that's what I try to come back to so often in videos. I talk about this conversation a lot with eyebrows. Like, if you have very naturally full, juicy, thick eyebrows, that probably looks amazing on your face. That's probably very much what flatters and fits with your face. And truly, again, we can experiment and we can play with thin brows, but your face probably carries a thick brow really well. Alternatively, I have pretty blonde, sparse eyebrows. There was a time when it was very trendy to do an Instagram brow that I would really exaggerate my eyebrows and very, very much fill them in. And it was okay, but I don't think it was necessarily the best look for my face. And alternatively, my face carries a softer brow, even better. Same thing can be said about your lip size, you know? If your lips are naturally small, your face probably carries a small lip really well. The idea that only one type of beauty exists is a myth. Your individual features aren't something to correct or to change, they're something to embrace. I don't want to live in a world where everyone looks the same. Beauty standards have and will continue to shift and evolve across time, across different cultures. And so again, instead of chasing this quite literally unattainable standard of beauty, I hope we can all start to appreciate our own faces and unique features. I hope you enjoyed today's makeup musings. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.